Everything.
They're going to take the celebrity space shuttle to Mars.
Great.
Everything's going to be fine.
Perfect.
Just keep giving all of our public, loot the Commonwealth and give it to the benevolent billionaires and their foundations. It will trickle down like gentle rain. Well, all of us will be cleansed in the purifying gentle rain.
Yeah, of QAnon.
You know, the tree of entitlement.
Yeah.
The drops will come through the leaves and wash over us.
Thank God. When is this happening? Is this happening soon?
I'm sorry. Just stop me from this gibberish. So I have to say, I hadn't really been a podcast person, and everyone was saying, "Well, oh my God, you're on your podcast." And so I said, "Well, I got to listen to one." And I listened to you and David Letterman. I thought it was terrific.
Oh yeah. He was. Are you guys friends?
Well, I've been on I don't know if I would. I don't know if he'd consider me a friend. I've been on a show
because he used to really speak highly of you. There was a period there where he was just sort of.
That's nice to hear.
Do you remember though? There's a period there where he just kept saying, "You're the best actor. There's no one better than you." It was a while though. You know, it was. Yeah, it was early on in your career. He just was constantly flattering you.
I remember when I was a kid, I was there, and I went with Rob Reiner, and when I did The Sure Thing, and I was in the audience, and I think he had a cold that night, and I remember he said something. The movie was great, especially the girl. And I remember I was in the audience. I was a kid. I was like, oh, David Letterman doesn't like me.
Was that the first movie?
First time I got a lead role in a movie. Yeah.
That was a sweet movie. Wasn't that a remake of a Clark Gable movie?
Yeah, it happened one night.
Yeah, I kind of remember. But like before we go into that, I just want to say, here's what happened to me when I was watching Utopia, was that because of the shit we're going through now, it kind of broke my brain a little. Did you watch it? Do you watch the final work? Did you watch the series Utopia?
I'd seen a few of the first couple of episodes, but I haven't seen the last, I'd say I know what we shot, but I haven't seen 4 through 9. Because
of what's going on in the world right now. It's not that it was prescient as much as it the nature of the conspiracy just kind of broke that part of my brain a little bit. So after I sat through 7 episodes of Utopia, I was pretty sure that I understood the entire authoritarian momentum that's going on now and how it's all connected and intentional. And I'm not sure I'm wrong, but thanks to your thing, now I'm all fucked up in the head, more so than I need to be.
That's a kind of a Gillian Flynn.
That's her specialty?
Yeah, it's her specialty.
What else has she done?
Oh, gosh, she's done Gone Girl and Sharp Objects.
Oh, right. Yeah. But I thought the show was pretty good. I thought initially getting into it that it was going to be like Stranger Things, but it's much more violent.
Yeah. It's she's a terrific writer. So the kind of architecture of it is, when you watch a movie, like I've been during the pandemic, I've been binge watching all these great old Graham Greene movies.
Oh yeah.
John Le Carre movies, and you're like, all right, it's the spy genre, and these are great writers, and they've introduced a character here in the first act.
Yeah.
Usually, the third act they're going to become, they're going to come back and Gillian, the architecture is so sort of sophisticated that you really can't see where the trap doors are.
Right.
She's a really, really interesting writer.
So, when you took the role, how much had you read?
Well, I was. It was one of those really nice phone calls you get where somebody says, "Hey, we'd love for you to do this," and you're like, "Oh, wow!" And then, can we send you the scripts? And I read them, and she sent me all 8, and I read them, and I started reading, and I don't know if you're this way, but if writing is really good, it's not hard to read. You just keep going.
Right.
And so I read it. I literally read all of them until 3 a.m. And I was like, of course I'm going to do it. It's great.
I think it was such an interesting casting choice because you're so capable of being kind of like seemingly benevolent and those kind of villains, who are just so sweet. I mean, the thing that stands out in my mind is where you pull that kid back to smell his head. And then what happens after? It's just like it's those are the worst kind of evil guys, the ones that are so sweet.
Yeah.
When you play something like that, what do you do? When you think about it, do you just play it straight? Do you just? I mean, you don't have to put any evil in place. You just follow the words.
No, I contemplate it. I contemplate that stuff for a while because I just think it's very interesting. People's perception of themselves.
Yeah.
The distance between that and who they actually are, or what they actually do. And so that's sort of a theme, that I like to play around with, I think, probably. So, I was always fascinated by, we're probably the same age-ish.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you remember 1978, 1980? That was Reagan era was scary.
Right.
It was Thatcher and Reagan. And
I don't remember I was not politically awake, so it didn't hit me the same way, say, W did. So, but I knew that the people that I liked who were politically awake were upset, but I don't know that I was feeling it in the same way. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just thought of it when they said the nuclear launch is ready, and then he would make a joke about nuclear war and stuff, right. And the Berlin Wall was still up, and you thought about these people who would go into sort of these rooms and they would stage these mega death war games with weapons. And I was always interested, all right, so those guys think they're good guys, and then they go home to their wives, and then they play with their kids. And then they I don't know, they go play cards,
right.
They go to baseball games. But yet
they can rationalize mass murder. They can rationalize mass destruction. That is, there's no human engagement with the numbers. Yeah, there's
this kind of a schism between what they do, what their job is, and their perception of themselves.
Right.
And probably in the 80s, and when I was growing up, you'd read Noam Chomsky and you read all this stuff, and then you'd listen to The Clash, and they'd do a double album on Sandinista, and then you'd start to look around, and so I was always interested in American exceptionalism arguments.
Sure.
And what was behind all that.
Right.
And it's probably just because, following great films and books and plays. And
but stuff. How did you, you must, because it's weird, because I don't think I got really, active around that stuff, or my understanding of it didn't really come into full form until probably much later. Did you grow up with activism in the house? I mean, were you educated in that way? What were your parents like politically?
Yeah, no, it was a really weird, interesting bit of freak luck on my part, which was that my father served in World War II, and he served with Philip Berrigan, one of the Berrigan brothers, who was part of the Cantonsville Nine.
Yeah.
So he became great friends with the Berrigan brothers, and they became family. So Dan and Phil Berrigan, and they were the underground radical priests
right.
who, covered Time magazine. They had that peace sign, and they burnt the draft cards and all that. So they were at all of our, christenings, eulogies, wakes. So they were around when I was a kid. And of course, anything your parents you say, that's bullshit, right?
Right.
But I remember recognizing something in my parents' eyes, that their eyes got bigger and wider, and they became these higher versions of themselves when the Berrigans were going to come visit.
Interesting.
This was a time when they were these guys were on the lam. They were underground for a while, and then they would go in and out of jail. So, but I knew that as I was a child and a teenager, I could see that my parents' eyes were elevating to a place where you could see that there was something higher than themselves that they were into
engaging with when those guys came around.
Yeah, and so I think that kind of I didn't realize later, but that, and then of course all the great films and books and poetry and music that we all love.
Of course. But those guys coming around and your parents being kind of hosting them. I mean, were there conversations going on? How many kids in your family?
There was 5 of us. And
you're the middle?
Yeah. How about you? What are you?
Two. Got one little brother, a couple years younger.
Oh yeah, I was 4th out of 5.
4th out of 5, and this is was it a Catholic thing?
Irish Catholic, yeah.
But that's interesting. So, but they were Irish Catholic progressives.
Yeah, that Jesuit.
Right. The sort of, like honor the real legacy of Christ thing. Service.
And it was like more like the Vatican II thing, where there was that kind of accidental pope who was into the social justice thing and started the Catholic liberation theology thing, where you couldn't just say you were a Christian; you actually had to help poor people and fight against injustice. Like there was a movement that was very influential, and Dorothy Day, the Catholic worker.
And so, like, these were influential people to your folks?
The Berrigans came out of that movement, right? Folks movement. It was like the civil rights, social justice, intellectual. So I was sort of lucky enough to be born into a family where that shit was there.
Where service was important, good deeds.
Yeah, or the truth.
Faith without works is dead.
Yeah, friend of Bill.
Yeah. Yes, definitely friend of Bill. But that's what that is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and so what did your dad do, for life? Like, what did you grow up looking up to in your father? Like, was he in show business?
No, he was, he was a terrific guy. He passed away, about 18 years ago. He had pancreatic cancer, but that's a tough one. Oof. But the only thing about it's good is that you just definitely get to say goodbye, because I thought, well, it would be a different thing if somebody just had a heart attack or got hit by a bus.
Right.
The only thing with cancer is you definitely get to go through your grief stages and say goodbye.
Right.
But he went to World War II, came out on the GI Bill. Went to Holy Cross, and then came out debt-free and could put money in the bank, and he would earn 7%. And
what do you do for a job?
He worked in advertising, like that Mad Men era.
Right.
Advertising. Hated it, but that's what he did to sort of take care of his family. And then later on in his life, he started a documentary film company and would make commercials like for Santa Fe Railroad and stuff. And so a bit of a filmmaker, and then wrote plays and acted, moonlighted as an actor.
He did.
He did a bunch of stuff, some plays, and worked in films a little bit. And I was lucky enough and he wrote a screenplay that I made for HBO called The Jack Bull, which was with L.Q. Jones and John Goodman, and Bob Dylan gave us the Ring Them Bells for the final song. So
I got to watch that. L.Q. Jones is a trip, man.
It's a cool Western. It's a good Western.
L.Q. Jones is like, that must have been wild hanging out with that guy.
Yeah, man. I was just like, I just want to talk about Peckinpah.
I know, man. Him and Strother Martin. And
L.Q., of course, is, made one of my favorite films ever.
Which one?
The Boy and His Dog.
Oh, yeah. Trippy movie.
Way ahead of its time. Classic.
And did he direct more, or was that it?
I think that was the one he directed, yeah.
It's so wild. Yeah, there's that era of guys just who were able to do that. Like, you wouldn't expect that guy would direct that movie. But him and Strother Martin and the Wild Bunch just running around pulling jewelry off of dead guys. It's great.
Yeah, and also all of Peckinpah's films, you can see him through all.
I'm kind of a Peckinpah freak. Like, I kind of put myself through the paces of, like, watching all of his movies at different points in my life. I'll just do, like, a little Peckinpah film festival.
Do you know what I just got into recently, which I kind of, like, want to whip myself for, like, denying myself the pleasure of it for years. Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid.
Oh yeah, that's great.
I know, but like, what was wrong with me? I mean, for 15 years, I forgot how great a film that was.
I don't know. So I think sometimes you're not sure where Chris Christopherson fits in your head.
But he's great.
He's great, and he's also great in Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia as the biker, guy. Like, but right. Yeah, but there's just sometimes you just like don't beat yourself up about it. That's interesting that you should be excited that you've found it.
I was, but I sort of refound it, and I thought, God, what was I doing all this time? I mean, it's got
there's a lot of movies.
villain as Alias.
As Alias. Yeah, just sitting around. It doesn't say much.